Hi, everyone. Can you hear us? Corey, Nairi? Fantastic. So we are live. Over to you, Donna. Hi, everyone. Can you hear us? Corey, Nairi? Fantastic. So we are live.
Somebody needs to mute.
There we go. Okay, we're good. You can hear us still? Thumbs up? Okay,
Okay.
I'm seeing it. Okay,
Thank you. All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. It's Wednesday, November 12th. This is a meeting of the Environmental Sustainability Committee of the City of Sault Ste. Marie, and I call this meeting to order. It is 12:04 p.m. And I do acknowledge with respect that we are in Robinson Huron Treaty territory and that the land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and known as Bowatting. And Bowatting is the home of Garden River First Nation, Batchewana First Nation, and the historic Sault Ste. Marie Métis Council. I'm looking for someone to adopt the minutes of our last meeting. Could I have a mover and a seconder for adoption of those minutes? Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Tori. Any additions, deletions, changes? I can't see them on there. It's okay. Just in case. Okay. Seeing none, all in favor of approval of the minutes from our October 7th meeting, that is carried. Thank you. Anyone with a declaration of pecuniary interest on our agenda for today? Seeing none, we'll move on to adoption of the agenda for today. I need a mover and a seconder. Thank you, Andre. Thank you, Eric. Any comments or additions, deletions, changes to our agenda for today? Seeing none, all those in favor of approval of our agenda for today, that is carried. Thank you very much. All right. The first item on our agenda is the climate action letter update. So you have, it was distributed, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. I'm just gonna pull it up.
Yeah, okay. So the letter, if you were just to remind you, back in July, we sent a letter to the mayor and council with our comments on the city's corporate strategic plan and asking for where am I on that letter? Asking some questions, asking for some, here it is. I'm sorry, it's in our agenda package. So we were, this reminding me. Yes. So there was the sustainability report was presented at the meeting on May 13th. There were some concerning trends. Emissions are rising, corporate emissions, community emissions, while understanding that the city's greenhouse gas reduction plan is dealing with the corporate emissions, but you know, we want to be leaders in terms of the whole community. And we commented on how disappointed we were that there was very little discussion or conversation. I believe there was only the mayor and one councillor who had anything to say or ask a question about this report. And we all here found that quite disconcerting and concerning. So we wrote a letter, the letter's in the agenda package, that says, you know, we'd like to meet, we'd like to work on achieving this climate action goal of net zero by 2050. And we did on November 5th receive a response from the mayor, which is also included in your package, and thanks us for our work. And they, you know, notes that they noted and understood our concerns. They share, the municipality shares commitment to reducing emissions, talks about the challenges around funding for that and resources for that. And that's the basis of the letter. So we appreciate the response, certainly. And following up then from the discussion we had at our last meeting, where we're leading into budget time, and Councillor Gardy suggested at our last meeting that we should perhaps look at providing a letter to council with regards to asking for something at budget and highlighting this issue once again. So as I wanted to get feedback from everyone here today about what do you think about that, and what are the key points that should be in the letter. that we send. Budget is deliberations are the 8th and 9th, I believe, of December. So we'd want to get a letter out probably by next week, just so it's in the package ahead of time and we make the mayor and councilors aware of what we would like to see happen. So I'm going to ask Councillor Gardy if he would please to follow up on your comments from our last meeting and get this discussion started in terms of what we should be including from your perspective in our follow-up to the mayor's letter.
Well, thanks, Madam Chair. Was there, as part of the outreach by way of this letter, I don't think I see it in the response, an acknowledgement in the response, but was there an outreach to set up some sort of meeting with the mayor to discuss some of these things, or no?
In the letter, that we sent in. July, I'm just trying to set up the subtitles here at the same time.
Oh, that's okay, sorry.
We did say, I don't know if we asked specifically if we could meet. We recommend in our letter.
To your point, Corey, we did not specifically ask, but in the last paragraph, we committed to being part of the solution and action and looking forward to support and, working on achieving goals and so on. So, but there is not a specific, would you meet? Yes, actually there is. What am I saying? I should know. It's in the first sentence. I am writing to you to request a meeting.
Oh, there we go.
Yes.
I thought it was there.
Yes. It's in the first.
Just so I'm clear, so that letter was sent in July, the one you're referencing?
That is correct. July 8th is the date on the letter.
And then you sent a subsequent one after our last meeting? And this is his response to that?
No, we did not send a subsequent one after the last meeting because in that time period, we received this new letter.
So this November 5th dated letter is the response to your letter that was submitted in July. Is that
is
what
correct.
Okay, so
That is correct.
I thought I recalled you asking for a meeting. And as I remember reading this, though I'm kind of skimming it now, but I did read it as part of the package. There was no acknowledgement of that meeting request, nor him not getting back to you saying, sure, let's meet, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So, here's where I'm, and don't shoot the messenger. I've just been thinking about this the last few days prior to this meeting after taking a look at this letter. So I think it's important for a group like this one, to continue to really advocate for the work that we do. And I think it's more important now than ever in the sense that as the way things are going globally, as it relates to, the disruption caused by all of the stuff going on south of the border, that everybody around the world is kind of scrambling to try to figure things out, how things are going to be happening moving forward. And you can see by the Canadian government's response that even within their budget, though it highlighted some efforts as it related to the environment, it was nothing like the previous administration's alleged commitment to the environment. And that, Mr. Carney has already said that, well, Mr. Carney isn't as committed as he was in his previous role with the UN in dealing with like climate change and the environment. So I think a lot of people are going to be looking, as to how they can deal with the challenges from the US and the economy and development and industry are going to take a front seat. And unfortunately, it seems that the environment is going to take a back seat. That's my interpretation. And I'm not speaking for our council. I'm just speaking for how I've been kind of seeing and reading things and hearing things over the last little while. So that's a long way of me saying that I think that this group should respond to this letter, and I think it should be done quickly, and I think it could be done quite directly and decisively, saying, thanks for the letter. As you recall, we had asked you to meet. Are you still open to this? And we would really like to have the opportunity to be with you for, an hour or a half an hour or whatever, to talk to you directly about some of our concerns as it relates to the upcoming budget, which is upon us in the next few weeks. Now, I don't know if that's realistic for this group or representatives from this group or for you, Donna, to be honest. But that's how I would approach it. If everybody around the table really wants to make that impression, I don't think that impression is made any better than when you're face to face with somebody. So I think you ask for a meeting with him and with Tom and potentially some of the other senior administrators, just to kind of convey how this group's feeling. Obviously, I don't speak on behalf of the group, but if the sentiment of the group is, we need the environment to take, to be more specifically addressed as it relates to the strategic plan and the budgets moving forward. These letters going back and forth, I don't think are going to do it, and I'll stop talking. Thanks.
Okay, thank you for that. Anyone else want to weigh in on what Councillor Gardy had to say and any other comments? I see Andre.
Did you get my letter from the 23rd? Because I did ask about the focus that we don't have. It doesn't cost money to be more sustainable in the transportation sector, because we need to shift. We need to stop urban sprawl. We need to stop expanding the road system to encourage a modal shift. So I was just wondering if you can answer the letter I sent you now, or maybe you could do that personally, but I did write a draft resolution for you and you didn't get back to me. I'm just wondering if you
Yeah, so
respond to me
yeah.
or.
Yeah, so I recall the email. I thought at the very least I acknowledged receipt of it. If I didn't, Andre, forgive me. I can take a look at that. You're welcome to share it with everybody else right now if you want, and they can take a look at it. But I think realistically, um, I think we kind of have to do a couple of things, and it's something that I've spoken to people about outside of this committee and not on behalf of this committee, but just as the way I'm kind of seeing things in and around the community. To your point, Andre, I think there are more people driving around the community than there ever have been, or at least in the last 10 to 15 years. I'd estimate that there are probably a couple thousand more cars on the road than there were 5 or 6 years ago or pre-COVID. I don't know if I think it's symptomatic to the fact that our community is starting to grow again. And I think there needs to be, at least in the transition period over the course of the next number of years, a balance between, us, or not us, but, you know, advocating for people to, take public transit more, which we're trying to optimize currently. The opportunity to include more multi-use paths and bike paths. But at the same time, that's not going to happen immediately. And I think we have to be conscious of the fact that I think the community, despite what's going on at the steel plant, will continue to grow over the coming years. And we have to ensure that we can move people around the community safely, whether it be via bike or car. So I fully appreciate your perspective on these things. I wouldn't be telling the truth if I didn't tell you that I think, the approach has to be a bit more nuanced. But I'll leave it in that, and we can speak offline. Sorry, thanks.
Thank you. Anything further on that?
Well, I just saw also this week that the city is looking at the official plan to expand the urban
Service
built
line?
area,
Yeah.
which I would have liked that this committee would have the opportunity to comment on that from an environmental perspective, and whether or not, from my perspective, it's important to try to grow inwards as opposed to outwards, because that the reason we have more traffic is because we are building further and further out of the city. So if we build to the existing service area, we don't increase our costs, so we save on the budget. There's a great website called Urban 3, and what they do is they calculate the costs.
Sorry, Andre, what was the name of the website?
Urban 3, Corey.
Urban
Okay, thanks.
3. It's very good because what it does is it looks at the cost of servicing a square area of a city, and it looks at the revenue generated by that and compares like a downtown area to a suburban area. And there is a myth that people believe that expanding the tax base by expanding in the urban areas is actually good and generates more revenue to the community, but it's not true. Any kind of urban sprawl costs more to the city to service than it gets back in taxes. So
I probably agree with
that's
you
very good.
in that.
So,
Yeah,
so I want to stay focused here. I know this is really
Yeah.
layered, right? And it's bigger than
Yeah.
just this discussion, but I do want to stay focused here for today on this letter that we are going to send back.
This letter, it says that, we don't have the money, that's
I-
how you
yes.
save money, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And so that's your
That's
point
my-
is that, okay, and that's good to include in the letter.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Anyone else want to, Mark?
So I think from my perspective here, if we as a group agree or disagree on, the letter is just not enough, then we look at, pushing the point to Corey's point about, let's push the point about, we should have a follow-up meeting with any of the respective parties involved, and continue to push that message, or continue to say that message to that person in person, and see where we can go from there. Because I think, the letter, they could just send it back in this form and think that's the end of it type of scenario.
Right, and I think the concern with that, and the major concern we have, which is outlined in our letter, is we are going backwards. We continue to go backwards, and this plan says we want to accomplish this, but every year that we've reported on this, and I don't know when the next report comes out, but March, okay, so every year that we've reported, we just keep going this way, and we're trying to go this way, and it's not,
Yeah.
it's not, so that's the, and how do you, with the limited resources you have, go that way? So, okay, cool. Anybody else? Eric, did you want to add?
I would just add that I think Andre's point is really important, that we're trying to present the case that it's actually fiscally responsible to be environmentally responsible, and I think it's probably not coming across in these back letters. So maybe that should be the focus of a one-on-one meeting, is to try to make that point.
and I would only say that I think it best that if and when the direction that you provide, Donna, is like to try and schedule a meeting with whomever should attend that meeting on the city side. I think it's important that as many of us who can show up for that meeting are in attendance. You recall that I think Donna asked council maybe a year ago or so. I can't remember, Donna, when it was to attend one of our meetings. You recall that?
Vaguely, yeah.
Yeah, and I think maybe Marchie showed up, Mr. Councilor Bruni, and nobody else. So I think a deliberate scheduling of a meeting with the people we want to see sooner rather than later, and the attendance of as many of people on this committee in attendance for it would be best. And there's kind of strength in numbers. I'm not telling you anything that no one around the table knows, but that would just be my suggestion. And then once this discussion's done, based upon this where we are, I just have a question for Emily and the rest of the table to see what they think of an idea that I've been kicking around my head.
Okay. Anyone else want to weigh in on the letter?
I just had a question, that before this, did we ever have a meeting with the mayor, like for the same letter?
We as a group have not had a meeting with the mayor. some of us have separately met with the mayor, but we have not had the mayor has not attended a meeting of this group.
Just for additional context, like we went through a prioritization exercise and we came up with like 3 short-term and 3 long-term priorities that the municipality should consider. And we sent another letter.
That was 2 years
That
ago.
was 2 years ago with like, hey, we should do these long-term things and these short-term things. But there's never been like a formal meeting with the mayor. Now, if there was and everybody was here, that would constitute a formal open committee of council meeting. Because we'd have quorum. So just from a logistical standpoint, that's what we'd be doing. So if we do that, you know, it would be live as well, which is
Yeah.
fine. It's just
Absolutely fine. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it's just that because if it's from 2 years long and if we've never had a meeting, it would be better to have it now.
Yep.
Because there are so many points. It's probably if it's into his ears, right? Like in a live meeting, it would be really better.
Yeah. Understood. Thank you for that. Anyone else?
Just reiterate whatever was said, I think. You know. What doesn't come across from this letter is the appreciation of the systemic and sort of system-wide overlooking of sustainability across, you know. Do we have an update on the active transportation steering group that was gonna be created, all those pieces? Calls out the corporate strategic plan, but again, it's the official plan, it's all of these elements, so. A meeting seems like the best next step.
Okay. All right, Corey, your question. Or your comment.
I Emily sort of answered it and reminded me of that letter that we had sent the 1.5, 2 years ago. I think when we go in, like, I think when we have the meeting or whoever attends the meeting, I don't necessarily know if, you know, we'll be able to arrange something for them to participate as part of like a live meeting. I don't know what you think. That might be tough, but maybe a few representatives from this body could meet with whomever. But I think it's important that to a couple of points that people mentioned that whoever goes in there with some pretty direct asks, right? Now, if we refer to that letter in the past, sure, if we kind of, you know, take some of those suggestions and bandy about a couple of more in anticipation of that meeting, but I think we should focus on, you know, 1 or 2 specific things that we think, 1, they should be able to attain, and 2, would be impactful. I know there was 3 or 4 in each kind of category last time, Em. I can't remember exactly, but anyway, I'll that's just my advice, and I'll leave it at that. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay. If there's nothing further there, we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which says ESC composition update. Emily,
Yep.
is that?
Yep.
You got
That's very
something?
quick.
Okay.
Yeah, just let me share my screen here. Okay, so I would just like to take a moment to welcome our latest environmental sustainability committee member. She can't attend today, but we did have 1 vacancy that's recently been fulfilled. And her name is Stevie Lutzi. So just for everyone's sake, I'm going to provide a brief introduction to her. She is a registered professional forester. So we've got 2 now, and I think you know her as well. With the Ontario Professional Foresters Association. She works as a conservation forester with Wakatoan Development up in Chapleau, where she supports and leads projects focused on conservation, forest compliance, and nature-based solutions. In 2024, she received the Strive Young Professionals Group Algoma Visionary Award for Environmental and Natural Resources. She's very passionate about community-driven development, where values guide projects as much as deliverables, and she thrives when she can be of service through connecting people and sharing knowledge. She also sits on the board of the Nordic Institute and has also been recently appointed to the Sault Ste. Marie Conservation Authority Resource Management Advisory Committee, which is providing guidance and recommendations on a coordinated approach to resource and watershed management within the Conservation Authority jurisdiction. So welcome Stevie, and look forward to working with her next year.
Thanks, Emily. Okay, moving on. We have two green fund applications that have been reviewed by the group, and the results, which I think Emily's probably going to pull up for us here. The results are compiled, and let's have a look here at and have a discussion about these two items, and then we can. One of them we've seen before; it's been resubmitted. So Emily, can you briefly take us through the first one, the FH Clerg bike rack project?
Yeah, I'm just opening up my summary here so that I can share my screen. Shared screen. Share. Okay. Great. So we had two applications. I'm not going to count why this mouse is so slow. The scrolling function is not working. I wonder if I use the arrow keys, if that will go faster. Okay, so the first application was from FH Clerg. They're asking for $5,543.13. They scored the highest at 77%. Helping Hands, the second application, which has come back, scored 73. So in summary, they're looking to replace the broken bike rack at FH Clerg, French Immersion School, to promote active transportation, reduce GHGs. It also supports the city's Active Transportation Week initiative, which we've been doing for the past few years in partnership with Algoma Public Health and somebody else. I can't remember who. The applicant, a student at FH Clerg, seeks funding to purchase 2 new bike racks, one for 8 bikes, one for 10, to replace the broken rack. These models can accommodate all bike sizes. The school board does not fund bike racks, so external support is essential. If approved, it'll be purchased in December. Photos, proof of purchase will be part of their reimbursement report. And in the spring, Algoma Bicycle Company will assemble and install the racks at the school, followed by a final report with installation photos. They're going to have a ribbon cutting ceremony during Active Transportation Week. We'll invite us, members of the committee, city, and media, etc. So a couple of comments from the committee. Sorry, my mouse isn't working well. Love this project, and that a student is leading it. Recommend they get full funding, but see if they can maybe get a local transport company to help cover the cost of the shipping of the bike racks to Sault Ste. Marie. Recommend full funding. This project checks all boxes, and even better, submitted by an elementary school student. It's unfortunate school boards choose not to fund bike racks, but I'm sure they have no issue. Their parking lot is well maintained. Those who are driver subsidized, those who don't make healthy, but those who make healthy, sustainable travel choices aren't. There's something wrong with the system. Hopefully Emma can point that out to the board. Comment about wondering if Claire could do some fundraising for the remaining money, suggesting, again, because we have about a $700 shortfall for both projects. We're just shy of about $700. Suggest we cover $5,000. Scored lower for financial analysis because no plans for fundraising. Also see that Algoma Bike Company will build for free, so the impact to the community via the school. Maybe they get that extra $600 through a fundraiser. Full support, great funding, great project by Emma. It's a student project. It brings forward awareness and responsibility toward environmental protection. Great initiative for someone from such a young age. And we had one question. I'd like to hear how the previous bike racks became damaged and if that can be averted again. The new bike rack will be placed right beside the building and close to the windows so that it can avoid damage by the snowplow. So that is the summary of that project.
Okay. So all positive comments as I read, as Emily has taken us through. A couple of suggestions around positive around the funding, either fully or mostly fully. I know on of the quote, I think $1,300 of the $5,500 was for shipping, which is a significant amount within that. And I can imagine, these pieces are heavy and so on. However, the idea about oftentimes transport companies have empty trucks sometimes coming back from Southern Ontario, or they might have a little room on the end of a truck that they could, you know, and would help out by providing the shipping for the school to be able to get the racks here and reduce or eliminate the cost to the Green Fund and to the school for the shipping of the project, which would bring it down by about $1,300. So anything further to say about that? I'm sensing it's very positive though. Okay, are we good with that one? Okay, let's move on to the discussion on the next, which is the reapplication from Helping Hands.
Okay, great. So Helping Hands resubmitted their application for their circular economy e-commerce platform. They're looking for $10,778.58. I did send around a backgrounder with answers to the questions that were asked the last time. And there were a couple more questions this time. I'm not going to go through it all, but hopefully everybody had a chance to discuss it. They did provide like some really thorough answers. So as a reminder, they're looking to secure an e-commerce platform to promote their circular economy by facilitating the donation and purchase of gently used items, will reduce landfill waste, lower carbon emissions, and provide affordable goods to residents, engage youth volunteers to gain experience in e-commerce and sustainability, hoping to launch in February 26th with at least 100 products listed and a local pickup model for fulfillment. This project aims to be financially self-sustaining through online sales with long-term environmental benefits and community impact. So they scored fairly high across all categories, 73% overall, 3.9 for environmental sustainability, 4 for community impact, 3 for financial analysis, and 3 for innovation. Some of the comments from the ESC members from this time around: I'm comfortable funding 50%. I don't think we should be funding the entire amount, so 5,000. Another comment: I don't believe we should support it. Another one was, this is interesting. I support funding minus the point of sale items, so recommend funding 9,468. Maybe for funding, it requires more discussion. I like the idea and it scores okay overall. I just find it quite expensive given the consulting costs and not particularly innovative. No partnerships mentioned. There are a few organizations that facilitate donation and reselling in the area, and they seem to operate fine without a digital platform. I'll reiterate that in the background are some examples were shared from other communities who do this. So they did some due diligence on that regard, including, I think, the Salvation Army. Another comment was maximum 1,500, do not support this. And the last comment was, it will enhance accessibility to local goods in the community by a dedicated channel. The project has provided more explanation and clarity now since the last time. So some of the new questions, I'm wondering if moving to a website is meant to move donations more quickly. They responded, we are adding e-commerce to our existing retail operation. We won't be switching from brick and mortar to online. Some items will be kept for website sales only, but storage for that will be our backroom area. It won't impact the amount of goods we have in our main brick and mortar area, and will increase the donations we take in as a whole, not take away. If he understood the question correctly, what is meant by move donations more correctly, yes. By increasing the rate at which people acquire donations, we increase the rate we can take donations and thus divert from the landfill, increasing throughput, I call it. Do they provide services besides recycling? He noted, by recycling, do you mean thrift operations? That is our primary operating model. We do some other things like value-added community work, but it's ancillary benefits from the charity thrift store operations. Target audience, low-income students, new Canadians, seniors, people on social disability support and government assistance, underprivileged minorities, etc. These groups use the internet. Seniors may not as much, but still in connecting digitally is important. The basic idea of this is we increase throughput sales because our source for all these goods is secondhand donations that would move more often than not go into the landfill. Our throughput rate equals landfill diversion rate roughly. I personally have been at the local dump and seen how much perfectly good stuff is being thrown out, and it's unbelievable. This is physical mass waste that isn't going to break down easily or at all and will leach into surrounding soils and possibly water table unless they have a waterproof concrete basin, which I highly doubt. The SOO is nowhere near saturation for thrift operations, so increasing our throughput will be increasing landfill diversion throughput. And then he provided an article on thrift store waste diversion, linking it to municipal green goals. And last question was, how are the point of sale items to move the donations more quickly? And his answer was yes. So again, there was a backgrounder. Yeah, I'll just really quick, you know, they've been around since 2017. Most of their funding comes from small donations, churches. You know, they're a local charity dedicated to serving the community. They're a not-for-profit. They provide affordable clothing, household items. They're more than a store. It's a community place, a hub for warmth and refuge, listening, being treated with dignity. The Shopify initiative will help them become more financially self-sustaining through online sales. The consultant resources are essential for this project. But they have volunteers, but they lack that technical e-commerce experience. So the consultant will configure the platform, integrate payments, etc. Provided more details on the landfill diversion race. Gave some examples from the Salvation Army online thrift stores. Some more details about the environmental impacts of the point of sale option. Increasing sales will drive in-store traffic, increase landfill diversion. You know, talked a little bit more about the consulting piece. They don't have the in-house expertise for this project. The bulk of the cost is skilled labor. Sorry, my mouse is acting up. I don't know what's going on here. Come on. And then
You're at the bottom.
yeah, we're at the bottom. So that's that.
Okay, so in my review of the comments, I still see that we are not effervescently in favor of supporting around $10,000. I'm sorry, let me say the right number. Just over 10,778. I'm not seeing that. You know, sometimes some applications we get, it's very clear everybody's really in favor of or not in favor of or whatever. This one, we still seem to be, even with the added background information, we still seem to feel it's you know, and we do need to make a decision today on where we go with this. So I'm seeing some people suggesting nothing. I'm seeing some people suggesting perhaps half to help them get to the goal. I'm seeing even smaller than half. So with that, with this now conversation we've had in this room together, would anybody like to propose some type of, like, where are you sitting right now? Where are you living? Eric is nodding, so I'm gonna ask them.
We've scored it very similarly to the one we just decided to fund fully. There's a lot of hesitation, but if we follow the rubric, I don't see a reason not to support them. It's not scored much lower, you know, than the clerk one. And so if we're funding them fully, I don't know if we should, it's a bigger ask, right? So maybe we compromise since we're still a little unsure about some parts and maybe don't fund it fully, but I don't think we can not fund it based on the way it's been scored.
Okay, Andre?
Can I comment on basically the responses? Because I don't think we've had a chance to do that. First, I just believe it's a great organization. I think they're doing a great community service. I have no issues with this organization on that perspective. My concerns is the environmental aspect to this. It's a social group as far as the services. I also question the amount of waste that they're suggesting they divert from the landfill, because I know personally say that I donated clothing to them before, things of that nature, and all of a sudden they don't exist anymore. I know I can donate my clothes to Valley Village or Salvation Army or somebody else. So I believe that people who are going to donate clothing and that kind of stuff, there's other option. It's not that this is not a great group. I totally believe they do what they do, but this is not our core mandate. It's not, the environmental impact to me is zilch. Because people who will give them stuff, if they're not there, they'll give it to somebody else. They're not diverting anything from the landfill side. From what I'm reading, and they have no evidence that they're doing that other than saying, well, a cubic ton is X and yeah, that's my point.
So if they were proposing, for example, an outreach to try to encourage more donation. Then you would see that as.
Well, yeah, for sure, but people who, like I said, if you know, your parents die and you have a house full of clothes and you wanna give
people
it
will
for
find
charity,
it.
you'll find something you can give. There's channels right now that exist to do that. It's not that what they're doing is, it's a great idea. I love it, but it's not environmental. And their environmental twist on it is a stretch, as far as I can read. So continue doing what you're doing, but don't get money from us. Because we can give money to make trees that have more environmental impact than the apparent diversion waste that is a stretch, as far as I'm concerned.
Tori?
Yeah, just on my end, like overall, I agree with Andre's point. I think I do disagree in their declaration that there is room in the market for this. I think the market in the Sioux is full of opportunities to reduce, reuse, Facebook Marketplace, right? Like, and that's got a very low barrier to entry, whereas with this, you're going to a different website. You know, if people are inclined to donate, they will find a way to donate. That's what I do believe that. Maybe there'll be a few that might switch, but by and large, I think that there is enough supports out there in our city that this would not necessarily capture any great deal of market share with people reusing and recycling. I think to Eric's point about the scoring, that is a fair point. And so I am wondering if anyone who scored them higher on, like, the average was 3.9 for environmental sustainability and 4 for community impact. And so I'm wondering about those scores. Just to me that, you know, I didn't score them that generously, but if someone does, then maybe we should have a conversation about the scores.
I'm gonna go to Nairi first and then, Nairi?
Yeah. So I had 2 comments. So I disagree with Andre. I think that sometimes when we donate to those larger organizations, that stuff ends up in the landfill because they get overwhelmed with clothing. So I think it might have, I'm not saying that it does, but I think it might have more of an environmental benefit for, like, locally for our community if people are donating to this and it's not going to the landfill. And somebody said maybe, maybe there should be some more outreach with this to encourage people to donate to them as opposed to Value Village. Even I think the Kidney Association, sometimes they get overwhelmed and this stuff just ends up in the garbage. The other part was, I did rate it fairly high because, I thought it was like from my perspective and the diversion from the landfill, I thought that it was a decent proposal. And I guess one of my follow-up questions would be, like, when we decide what gets funding, does it matter if it's like, how much towards a consultant? Like, if they don't have the in-house skills, does it matter to us, or are we just funding the project for that environmental benefit? So anyways, that's why I scored it a little bit higher. But I said, I think I said, minus the point of sale items, I'd also be comfortable with like half. Anyways, that's all I got.
Thanks, Nairi. I'm gonna go to Trishella. I think she had, and then Mark.
Just over here, as the discussion has been progressed already, the idea that they have said, like they have nowhere said that they will only accept donations through the channel of online ways. Now what they have said is that they will accept donations, I think, in the store also, and whatever they get, they will be like putting it up on the website. So I don't think so they are vanishing away from being locally present and being only available online. So there is nowhere that said in the whole project. And secondly, uh, there are a lot of other websites which are for new clothes, but then the thrift store clothes, like the thrift clothes in itself, right now is required to be just not be present only in the shops, in the stores, because not a lot of people are able to go to the stores because all of them have different time schedules and everything. So I believe a website like this will actually generate a new, also kind of a revolution in terms of online market based going out of the project products, because we don't see a lot of thrift store websites which are out in the market. We see a lot of new stores websites which are there. I like there is Poshmark which is there, which always has something thrift. We have Facebook Marketplace, but like if I talk about me, I'm also not there on Facebook. So probably if I have to go and get something like a different chair or a different sofa, I'll have to find something where will I get it if I have to go and get it. And I don't want to invest in a new one right now. So if there is something like this coming up, which is specifically dedicated to the donated clothes, which are going out in the market, I would really suggest we go for it, because this is the second time they're writing and it has everything covered in very specific manner, not just for the sake of it, but somewhere also research, and whatever they're saying is not out and out or not to be considered. So what I feel is that if we give a boost to certain kind of these projects, it will also give a rise to many of the other places which are there in the market, just there, but which are not being able to get a outer outreach. If it is a website, it's not, then it can be also be processed by Susan Mary. Somebody can Sadbil can also view it, can ask for it. That if we want to come and pick it up. And then they have also said that the pickup is a pickup by the person. It's not, sorry, it's not like somebody will go, if they have a channel of picking it up, they will come and pick it up by themselves. Like it will not be like an Amazon delivery services. So why not give a chance to these kind of thrift project stores, a website, which will enhance a lot of donated goods and a lot of second-hand products going out in the market and getting reused. So the whole purpose of this project, I find it very much essential for the today's world. So this was my take on it, and I think we should go for it. Though we are low in funding for now, whatever, like some of the consultant and everything, even that is for whole month. I think that's for $1,000. They have asked for it, and I think $1,000 for the whole month is probably not bad. That is for 2 months. They are also going to tell us like what is the market is doing and how they are doing in the market. So this was my take on it, and for our funding, which is less, we can adjust it somehow with the both the projects and give it out. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Trishella. Mark?
So my opinion of it doesn't change from the last time. I wasn't overly for it. But saying that, you look at the scoring, the rubric, and you know, everybody's in favor of it. So to deny it now, I think would be, then what's the point of doing the rubric? So, despite my concerns and despite all of that stuff, I don't see why we couldn't or shouldn't fund it. If people are that much against it, it should have shown up in that rubric, and it doesn't. It shows up very well in the rubric. So clearly the majority of the group and people who suggested it are for it. And that's, why I would say, despite our conversation here, it makes sense to fund it.
I think that your comment is well taken. The thing is that, and this is very interesting discussion. So the thing is that while some people, like you have to understand, or we all heard each other explain the logic behind why we scored it in a certain way. Nairi has a very, very different opinion than you or than Andre, etc. And so that's that. I don't. I think that it even, what did it score, 3.3? What is it?
Average,
Yeah, 3.5,
3.64,
3, okay, so 3.6.
and then FH squared was 3.86.
Right. So it's like that the result is a reflection of, well, I believe this, okay? And the thing is, or I believe this, and the thing is, we don't really know, okay? We don't know what is out there in the world of this type of management of donations and how much is really, I know they've provided a lot more information this time. It was very good, but we don't really know, and this is the quandary, right? We don't really know how much is going to a landfill. We don't really know. I mean, I can tell you that I work with an organization and I have learned so much about the whole donation process and how people donate and what people donate and why people donate and how angry they get when you tell them you can't take their donation because you don't have the space, and they actually yell at you and say, "What do you mean? I saved all this for you." Like, it's this whole wild world of that being said, I know that in the organization I work with, we have thrown out donations, right? We work really hard to not take now what we can't give out because we don't want to put things in the landfill. We don't want the habits of consumers to become our problem, okay, to the landfill, right? And it's a wild business. It really is a wild business, this donation thing. So it's a quandary. So the point is that the scoring is the result of what you think or what you believe to be the reality. And the thing is, I don't think any of us really know the reality because it's based on our assumption or our habit or what we do or what we contribute. This is a hard one. This is a hard one, Emily.
So it's really been a dynamic discussion, very insightful. But it's also an affirmation on having that rubric was a good idea, right? It created a standard, and we can quantify things. So yay, points to the rubric task that we created.
Are you patting yourself on the back?
No, I think it was recommended by somebody else, and maybe I was like, should we? Yay to you guys, I'm patting you on the back. Bugger.
Yeah.
So
I changed my score because, to be honest, like the reason that my awareness of the landfill and the donation came because of what I read today, which is the information I just got now. And also I admit that I was too busy to go back to see what I had scored. So if I had to score my rubric right now, I would give a 0 score. So it would change the thing. So that's my fault and I apologize, but that's all. I think I'll come.
And just building on that, I think yay to us for the rubric, but I think this is pointing out that like when I score something a 3, I think it probably means something different than if you're scoring it as 3 because it's a very, what is 3? I don't know. Like,
Oh, the chart says,
but good. I don't know.
yeah,
right?
good, yeah,
Is there anything
order
more than
fair,
that?
good.
there's a whole
Yeah.
breakdown.
Is
Yeah,
it? Okay,
yes.
my bad.
In
Okay.
the and I can open mine, but in the scoring, there's a tab there. Can you pull it up fast by any chance? There's a tab there that says what each score represents. So 1 is fair, poor, 2 is hold on.
You gotta find it. There it is. There's this rubric.
Oh,
There.
it is.
Yes, so that's a tab, so
Let me get
it's
back
on the
to the
second
rubric.
tab, so it is very,
Yeah.
it's very specific there. It,
Thanks for reminding me.
and I look at it I have to go and look at it every time I score something to remind myself of what I'm, like, where I think that it fits in. So now, we do have to make a decision. We are a bit all over the map. I can tell you why I scored what I'm, my opinion is, I want to help with this, but I don't see, and I'm looking at it specifically from using taxpayer dollars, which we're supposed to be using to support environmentally sustainable activities. And I don't think that this type of a project should be 100% supported by environmental sustainability money. There is a social part to this, which is what Andre has pointed out. And you don't want to hear my 10 cents worth on what, how, I won't say that. We'll have that conversation another time. But like, that's why I feel like $5,000 to me is fair. It helps on potentially with the diversion from the landfill, which is our responsibility to provide support for. But I don't think it's 100% diversion from the landfill. I think it's getting them a point of sale system and a way that they can better inventory and manage their goods. So
Why don't we just have a resolution now to say, okay, support, we can vote 0, 50 or 100, or is that fair? Like, is that those three options that we can vote
Yeah.
for, and then
go ahead.
So there's just a couple of things that I'll bring forward here, okay? The applicant has clarified in their submissions, their answers to all of those questions, like they need to hire expertise to help them develop whatever this system is going to be. So, if we give them half, so like 5,000, okay, will that allow them to even do something? Maybe, but maybe not, right? If we omit the point of sale system, which was another comment, so bringing it down to 9,400 and change as opposed to 10,700, you know, without that, like, are they going to be able to find, I think it was 9,000, so you're about like $700 short of what they were looking for. That's another option. And then we're left with $300 in the green fund as a surplus, which can go towards tree planting next year. And I think that might be something else to think about, that if we can exhaust the funds of the green fund, we also prove that there's a need for this fund. Like, we've never done that before, right? Like, we've come pretty close, but there's always been monies left over. And that's just me kind of thinking holistically, more strategically about the fund. But we can do that. We can either give them nothing, we can give them a portion of what they're asking for, or we can give them everything. Those are our three options.
All right. So leaning into what that fund is for and how we feel good about using it. I guess let's just go around the table and see. I've already said I'm willing to fund it half, $5,000. I'm gonna ask,
For 50%,
okay?
5,000.
So you can say 0, you can say 50, you can say another number, doesn't matter, okay? You can say full, whatever you want. So, Andre,
0.
okay, Trishala,
I would like to go with 85%, because we are adjusting it and we are running out of funds, so like 80%. Because of that
okay,
adjustment,
okay,
otherwise I would.
okay, so you're above half, okay? Eric,
I'm good at half or 80%.
okay, Mark, I jumped in first, I said.
I know, I was, and my score and my preference was for 0, but I have to stick with what we've set out for scoring on the rubric. So if it's funded, it's funded. That's how we score it. So
100 or 85?
whatever it is minus what we're short type of scenario.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
So like
that's
your
the
suggestion
level.
to,
That's
Okay.
basically full funding then, I mean, because we've been able to max out what we have, right?
Right.
So
Right,
if-
okay.
Okay.
okay, Corey,
I'm good with 50.
okay, Nairi,
I'm good with the 50 or the what I suggested before, the minus the point of sale.
That was like 9,400 and change.
Yeah, something like that.
So then we would no longer be in a shortfall. We'd have 300. and-
I'm sorry, I don't think the idea of shortfall matters, like either we fund it, we have to fund these things based on the principle of what that money is to be used for, not we have the money, we don't have the money or whatever. If we don't have the money, we can't take the application, right?
Yeah.
So that's my opinion, we should be careful about saying, well, we can give this, but because of, and then we have whatever. So I'm seeing, I don't know what I'm seeing, I'm still seeing all over the map.
That 50s.
That would
the
fit up
50s
with-
one.
The majority is
You-
50%.
Majority is 50%?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna then pose that as, I would like then, will someone move and to second? That the Environmental Sustainability Committee approve, 50% funding for this project.
So
I'm looking for a mover and a seconder. If I don't have one, I can't go any further.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, what?
we'll move. Oh,
Okay,
Tori
so
wants to-
Cory
Yep.
and Mark are moving 50% funding. All right, any further discussion?
Yes.
All right, that,
Sorry.
now we can do that.
It's more to the point if they decide not, if 50% is not enough and they can't fund the rest of the 50%, then I'm assuming the project just goes.
Perhaps there's other
Nothing?
avenues or there's other avenues for them to find support.
So it's not our, how do I say this nicely? Not our problem?
Well, if they don't spend the money within 1 year, it goes back into the
Right.
fund.
Okay. All right.
But I don't think it's my personal opinion is it is not our problem to make sure, to ensure their project gets funded or gets actualized, I guess, be the thing. All right, any further discussion from anyone? All right, so we had Mark to move Tori to second. So the motion is be resolved that this committee supports the request for funding from the Green Initiatives Program for the Helping Hand Circular Economy Platform projects and recommends that we approve 50%, which is,
$5,389.29.
thank you. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, so everyone is in favor with the exception of 2, which is Andre and Krishala. I don't think we need a recorded vote here, but you can have that for your notes. All right, moving then, we're going to go back now to the FH Clerk Bike Rack project. So going back here and noting that everybody was very positive about this project. We did make some suggestions here about how they could potentially save a little bit of money on it that if this gets approved, they could perhaps look into. So looking for someone to move and to second full funding for the bike rack project. Moved Andre, seconded Eric. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor, that is carried. Thank you. We've lost Councillor Gardy, but
Yeah,
I
that.
think, oh, okay.
But we still have quorum.
I was gonna say we still have quorum. Yeah. Okay. All right. Are you having fun yet, Trishana? Perfect.
It
Okay.
came for a good one.
Okay. Moving on. The next item is we have 25 minutes left, so let's try and get through this here. The program, the terms of reference have been updated for the Green Fund, the Green Initiatives Fund. The updated version of that is included with your agenda package
And on screen.
and on the screen. Thank you, Emily. And you will note that things that have been changed are highlighted in yellow in the updated proposal, except what is not highlighted, the long-term, this section 3 isn't highlighted, Emily, and I think that has been changed,
Yeah.
correct? Okay, so maybe can we briefly go through, do you want to hit the highlights? Or maybe I can even ask a question. Does anybody have, if everybody's read this, does anyone initially, before we go through it, has anyone had any questions or concerns about the changes that they've seen?
And I can provide a context statement about why this is happening for those who maybe don't know.
Go ahead.
So mainly Trishalla. So Trishalla, we have this terms of reference for green fund applications. You've seen them in the applications that you've evaluated, right? People fill it out. We had a former committee member bring forward a resolution, which you can do as a committee member for ideas, things, projects, whatever, to amend the terms of reference to include more of an indigenous worldview for certain areas. Okay. So a working group was created between them and Mark, myself, and city staff and several revisions took place. This started in 2024, so it's been a bit of a long time coming. We've hashed it out as a committee a couple of times. We've never been able to come to a consensus. So, there's also been additional feedback, like regarding more like procedural pieces, like who can apply if you've applied once, and you're applying again in the same year. Maybe priority should be given to somebody else who hasn't applied yet. And if there's any pennies remaining at the end, we can consider them. So there's a few other like procedural things that have been tightened up in the application as well. So this has now been brought back to the committee for review. I'll also add, and this is for everyone's sake, that the terms of reference, in particular, the definition, where we brought in more of like that Indigenous worldview, was reviewed by the city's newly appointed Indigenous advisor, Caitlin Neville, for her input. So that's our first thing that we'll go through here. My recommendation is I'll go through these key areas. Donna's pointed out that one wasn't highlighted, but as I scroll through, I'll see it because we're on iteration 15 of this document. So I've looked at it a lot of times. That clear?
Yep.
We'll start.
Yep, we just want to make sure we leave time for your update.
Yeah, my update? Oh, yeah, like that'll take a minute.
Yep.
Okay, so definitions, originally we had like environmental sustainability means, but it's been revised to read as it is here. Some of Andrew's points that were, brought forward were reviewed by the Indigenous advisor, who agreed that they were within, reason, and a source has been provided as well, backing up where some of these things, in particular, those like relatives, pertain to. So this is the new definition for sustainability, and then it's, this part has been strengthened as well. What's this? New addition. Yeah, so bringing in like applicants are considered to kind of think of the interconnectedness of the ecosystem. That's been added to the definition as well. Wow, this mouse is not working. It's very strange. So long-term impact was also added, so we clarified like a definition of what that means. So lasting impacts on the environment, community, economy beyond immediate carbon reduction. Decisions today to foster sustainable, equitable futures on long term. Accessing materials in ethical ways, supply chain, thinking about the social consequences or benefits, resource extraction, and that local goods and services produced in Sault Ste. Marie are supported wherever possible. So that was defined in this revision as well. So as far as the recommendations of awards, we've now put it in here that prioritization from community groups will community applications will take priority over city applications from departments, which is something that has come up many, many times before. Funding requests are at the discretion of the ESC. We can recommend total or a portion, subject to the number of volume and strength, alignment to the terms of reference, scoring, and quality of the application. So we just sort of shored that up, tightened it up a bit. The language there. Scrolling down here, I highlighted the changes. Okay, so this was also brought up under like where the financial section of the application. In cases where the total funding exceeds the total budget, funding will be eligible first to new applicants that have not previously received support. Returning applicants may receive funding only if sufficient resources remain after new applications have been considered. Because right now, if you apply and you submit your grant report, you can apply again. But in order to kind of level the field for those who haven't come in before, this now gives new applicants priority over someone who's applying for like a second or a third time in a year, which we don't see a lot of, but we've seen here and there. So that's been added. We also talked about, if you're looking to replace old equipment, we've sometimes funded projects like LED lighting conversion. They need to explain how they plan to get rid of the old equipment, like fluorescent lighting, for example, because say they take them out and they give them to somebody else, you're not really lessening the demand on the grid, right? So we want to have that kind of due diligence. Also added, if applicable, has your project considered local, regional, or provincial supply chains in production and transportation, and just explain. Again, it may not be applicable to all applications. Then we spoke to the anticipated short, medium, and long-term impact, tying into that definition in the terms of reference, and that's that. So I'm gonna go back to the top, 'cause that was the area where we had most of the discussion, the definition of those. So it's front and center for everybody.
Okay. I think some of you will find that, if not all of you, but I definitely know some of you will find that your suggestions have been incorporated into some of these sections. And and from our discussions or our work on administering this plan or making recommendations on how this fund is administered, you'll see these things in here. So any questions or further ideas around this new proposed terms of reference?
It's Nairi. So I just have a comment based on our discussion today. And maybe it's just something to consider in the future for the rubric. But incorporating some sort of like certainty. You know how like a lot of like when you're thinking about climate change and even projections and how certain those projections are, there could be a score incorporated based on, the certainty of the impact.
Okay.
But not to make more work right now, just to make a note and we can think about it in the future.
Like add that as an element in like the rubric,
Yeah.
boring, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
that's
doesn't,
different.
that's not this,
Yeah.
but it is an interesting thought
Good
for sure.
point. Yeah.
Anyone else with anything?
I just wanted to ask the group, and again, I know that this has been a long time in the making, but I've been disappointed with the post-grant reports and wondering if we could bolster the requirements there, set a bit of a more detailed framework for folks.
To add to that, the one that we're using, the template, it's like a standard city template, so we could create our own, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So that could be different, like, like you're just saying that little one pager is lean, basically.
Yeah, and I think there's ways to round it out more without being too intimidating, recognizing that these are mostly small groups.
And that can kind of speak to what Nairi's saying, like.
Yeah,
Like, did you reduce emissions or?
Yeah.
Right, so again, that's different, it like not different, but that's something else we could add to our plate. Make
Okay.
our own post-grant report that ties to our grant application.
Like to beef it up.
Yep.
Sounds like she's volunteering for a subcommittee.
I love
Duly noted.
making reports. Yeah, I'm
Duly noted.
happy to help.
Okay.
I just want to jump in for a second. I have to leave pretty soon. I'm teaching at 1:30. Do we have to vote on anything else or am I good to go?
Yes, we have to vote on this. And I
Chief,
think we're close though. Nairi, if you can, I think we're close. Like I'm feeling that there's not a lot more that people are planning to contribute here, but please don't let me stop you.
we do have quorum if she leaves.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna jump out then. We'll see you.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So that leaves us with nobody there. Is Councillor Gardy gone?
Gone.
Okay. Okay. So further discussion on this or comments? All right, seeing none at this moment. So from that, then we need we need a mover and a seconder to approve this revised terms of reference.
Is it that we're approving the revise or the addition that have been proposed?
Those things I will add as actions and bring in
Yeah.
a revised rubric and a revised post-grant report. This is just the application itself,
Yeah.
with those
We
things
we are voting to
approved.
the changes that are.
To the terms of
Yeah.
reference,
Right.
those two things that were mentioned aren't part of terms of reference, but they are
Oh,
valid
do
things
it.
to follow up on.
Okay.
So I'm just looking for, Andre to move and to second, please, Tori to second. Okay, any further discussion on that?
Just to confirm though, the only areas that were changed is what's highlighted in N3, right?
Correct.
Okay, good, because that's all I really skimmed.
Okay,
Okay,
Yeah.
it's okay, I read the whole thing.
good.
Okay. 3 or 4 times.
Let's let it go.
Is
That
that-
changes.
Okay, so, no further discussion, all in favor of, recommending approval of this to city council, that is carried. All right, Emily, your staff report.
I'm gonna go back. No, very sure. All right. So, terms of reference revision is complete. That took over a year, but yay, it's done. Couple of things that I'm working on. We got 11 bids for the EV costing, charging costing study, so working on reviewing those. Transit solar project still ongoing. John Road's roof replacement project, work in progress. The home retrofit program, design, study, is a work in progress still. There are some concerns on the feasibility of its implementation. So, you know, do we continue on developing a program design? And it's because the funders' implementation funding has closed, but we are exploring alternative avenues, to like back up its implementation from the private sector. So it's not dead yet, but, I'll keep you posted. Our energy conservation and demand management plan is coming, but it's not, been approved yet. Building to net zero, final deliverable. So that we're, again, as a reminder, the city of Sault Ste. Marie is one of 40 communities across Canada participating in the BNZ project, Building to Net Zero. So we're 40 municipalities are working on developing green development standards. They have a business case that's been completed and the draft green development guidelines, which are currently voluntary. And a plan for implementation that'll be completed in 2027. So that project is ongoing. I'll be going down to the National Building Decarbonization Forum in Ottawa this month to meet with the other cohort members. So it'll be an interesting time. The retrofit accelerator. So you might recall those Cadillac energy audits that were approved at council this year. We did 6 of them on the top 6 emitting facilities. Well, the price tag to implement, so bring all those buildings to net zero, was high. So we put out an RFI to develop a retrofit accelerator. A couple of other municipalities have done that using the similar to that like ESCO model, where you like fund projects through savings. So we received, I think, 8 bids for that. So we're working on reviewing those so that we have a plan for financing. We got money to develop a climate adaptation plan. And so working on the RFP, hoping to launch that in January. I don't know, I can't see what this is. Advise, oh yeah, the renewable energy, the province is working on its LT2 request for renewable energy development. So working on advising me projects for that. And we're also working with the Métis Nation of Ontario on a collaboration for tree planting initiatives in and around Sault Ste. Marie area. They received money to plant trees, I think 50,000 a year in our area until 2033. So opportunities to collaborate for tree planting, trying to bring schools in for that. Ecological corridor project update. So this is something we've been working on, the city in partnership with Garden River First Nation and the Algoma Highlands Conservancy for the past year. It's gone really well. It's wrapping up the first phase. It's not going to end until March. We got an extension. Our last forum with the partners is going to take place next week. As a reminder, this project is looking to create ecological linkages and habitats within the area from the St. Mary's River to the southern part of the Mississauga to support biodiversity and long-term stewardship. There's been some mapping, spatial analysis. We did some field work over the summer. Lots of community members were involved. Species ID, vegetation sampling, ecological classifications. And this is really to help build that long-term data. Press release is going to go out next week with some more information, but some videos promoting the project are on Ontario Nature's website. And looking ahead, the partners are looking to develop a governance and management framework to bring this, towards implementation. It was funded by Parks Canada as part of its national initiative to advance ecological corridor projects across Canada. So more details to come, but overall great feedback from the partners. And it's been nice to work with a land trust as well as the local First Nation. And friendly reminder that COP30 is taking place this week if anyone hasn't seen the news, but I've linked it in the slides. Just keep that on your radar. Take place in Brazil. As far as our meeting schedule, I've got it planned for next year. So 6 meetings, all in line with, how we usually run things. First meeting in January, where we'll vote on a chair and a vice chair. March is when I'll give you the emissions update. And we had a resolution for that, so bring it here and then we, go and talk about what we're gonna plan for budgeting, etc. Our first review, and then we do the review of all the green fund applications throughout the rest of the year. There's 4 quarterly intakes. The meeting in January, the scope is again to elect the chair and vice chair. If you're interested, email me privately. We'll also talk about, this is just kind of like a preview of what we're gonna talk about. The city's GHG reduction plan, we're gonna review it. It was originally published, unanimously approved by council in 2020. And it recommends revisiting that plan every 5 years. So we're getting close to that 5-year mark. So that might be a recommendation that the committee could bring to council to say, hey, put this on your radar. And then we're gonna talk a little bit about some ideas Trishala had for Earth Day and like another presentation, sort of like what we did with the city of Kingston. We brought in Brent Tadarian, some ideas, and so we'll bring that forward. So I did not forget about you. It's just been a wee bit busy. So that's it for my update.
Questions for Emily? All right, seeing none, Emily, would you kindly send out when you have time?
Yeah, I'm gonna send them
the
out.
invitation.
Is everybody good with the 4 to 5? If we have to move it,
for
we
the
will.
so they get in our calendars?
Like the 4 to 5:30 meetings. And then I guess the other thing I'll add is that like next year is an election year. So when there's an election, all the committees sort of refresh. We're coming to the end of our 4-year term. We are the only committee of council of the city that has a 4-year term. Everybody else is 2 years. We'll talk about this in January, but I'm getting pressure to kind of align with everybody else. But we've had discussions before that 2 years may not be enough to get something done. And like given the technical piece of this type of work, maybe we want to continue to be that black sheep and keep it at 4, but we'll talk about that in January. So yes, I will send those meetings.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, there's nothing further from anyone. I need motion to adjourn. Thank you, Andre. Thank you, Trishala. All right, all in favor of adjournment. It's 1:26. Thank you.